Rivalries and diss tracks can definitely get a rapper's name buzzing, but Bronx rapper Swave Drilly generated so much animosity that his enemies carried out a violent attack right in front of a parole office. The Bronx is heating up like crazy. Today, we're breaking down why his rivals were willing to throw away everything just to kill Swavey. On October 15th, Swave Drilly had a meeting with his parole officer in the South Bronx around 5 p.m. He had been on parole since returning home in 2024 and likely considered the office a safe space where he wouldn't have to worry about rivals catching him off guard. However, that is not how the situation unfolded. Before Swave left the parole office, a woman on the street spotted 3 men in ski masks approaching and called the police. But before the police could arrive to check the situation, Swave walked outside, and the masked men ran him down and fatally shot him. After the shooters fled and left Swave bleeding on the street, his own parole officer called the police, screaming for help.
We need a bus at 79 Alexander Avenue. 79 Alexander K? 79 Alexander and the parole office. One individual has been shot.
The police arrived to try and assist Swavey, but they were unable to save him, and he later died at the hospital. Swavey had enemies all over the Bronx, and the identity of the shooter remains unknown. However, rappers like C-Blue immediately began mocking him as soon as the news of Swave's death broke. Lil Tjay, one of the biggest rappers to ever emerge from the Bronx, was also dissing Swavey. The Drillies used to cause chaos throughout the Bronx, but now, many of them are locked up on RICO charges, and the crew is no longer generating the same level of commotion on the streets. They still have shooters active outside though, and a veteran member OG of the Drillies, currently incarcerated, is sending orders for the members on the outside to retaliate and get revenge for Swave's murder. Swave's killing was a significant loss for the Drill. While he wasn't achieving massive success in the rap industry, Swave had been dedicated to the Drillies for years and was present when the crew was initially started by Swave Drilly. Spaz and many others from a spot in the Bronx called G-Side were previously affiliated with the Bloodhound Brims. Spaz and his close friend Dumbo were both part of the Brims. But then in 2018, Dumbo was fatally stabbed at a barbecue. Dumbo's death ignited major conflict within G-Side, leading Spaz to break away and form the Drillies. Swave and Spaz grew up together, and Swave immediately embraced the Drillies from the start. Swave was active in the streets, putting in work in the trenches, while Spaz was building his name in the Bronx drill scene. Spaz had been making music since 2016. Then, in 2020, he truly blew up with the track Bunny Hop, helping to initiate the drill wave in the Bronx. Swave never intended to be a rapper. But one day, while in the studio with Spaz, Spaz urged him to jump on the beat, so Swave used the Notes app on his phone to write a verse, and that is how he released the track Ops with Spaz and Good Day Ray. Swave heavily dissed K-Flock's Neighborhood on the track, rapping, "I was the legend posted. You was at home, forfeit. I was on the Ray off it. He throw up thumbs off it. Got him." He then specifically called out K-Flock, saying, "Why? They cappin' like we don't carry heat and we've been in the streets." Knox was deadly. "No, I punched him in his sleep." K was lacking. "He ain't. No, I was a creep." According to Swave, he had caught K-Flock unprepared in his own neighborhood and assaulted him back in the day. When Swave was released in 2024, he gave an interview to P Films and detailed the entire incident.
So I'm like, damn, it's a girl and a boy. So I'm walking, I get close, I see it's him. We lock eyes and shit. Yeah, and it was up after that. Started getting it on. Like, well, you ain't really get it on. Like, I beat the shit out of him. I ain't gonna cap.
Swave claimed he was dropping someone off near Stepside one morning and decided to slide through their neighborhood to see what was happening. Swave walked around for a bit and didn't initially see any rivals. But then he spotted K-Flock walking down the street with a girl. According to Swave, he severely beat K-Flock inside a building, but there was no video evidence to corroborate his story. Swave said he tried to contact the building owners to obtain the security footage and post it, but he was never successful in getting his hands on it. And K-Flock isn't the only famous Bronx drill rapper Swave claims to have physically confronted. Before Lil Tjay achieved success outside the Bronx, Swave and his associates supposedly caught Tjay lacking, beat him up, and stole his chain. And on the track Ali Swave dissed Tjay about the incident, rapping, "Tjay got robbed, Loose got robbed, I can't be stopped." Ali Swave's track Op Spotter with Spaz and Good Day Ray became popular and started accumulating views, but he never got the chance to maintain that momentum. Before seriously pursuing music, Swave had been in and out of jail for years. In 2018, he was arrested on a gun charge and had to serve time. He was released only to be arrested again in February 2019 for attempted murder. Swave posted $50,000 for bail on that charge a month later. Then, 2 months after that, he got into a fight at the courthouse and was arrested again. Swave also managed to get bail on that case. However, a couple of months later, he was back inside after being arrested for reckless endangerment. Swave was out on bail for a year. He still had the legal cases pending, but Swave had started rapping and could have potentially earned legitimate money. Yet, just a few months after dropping Op Spotter, Swave was locked up again and spent 4 years inside. When Swave was arrested in 2020, he was already battling 6 simultaneous legal cases. But then in 2022, the situation escalated dramatically for him and the entire crew, because the police brought down a massive indictment on the Drillies. The Drillies were causing havoc on the streets. So the Bronx police initiated a special investigation called Operation Drilly, aimed at dismantling the entire gang. 20 members of the Drillies were named in the indictment, with police describing them as one of the most violent crews in the Bronx. According to the indictment, the Drillies were involved in over 30 violent acts in just a few years. In 2019, members of the Drillies nearly stabbed a young man to death who was simply walking home from school. Furthermore, police claimed a Drilly member had murdered a woman named Delilah Vasquez. In 2021, Delilah Vasquez was found in an abandoned building with a gunshot wound to her head. Delilah was associated with the YGs and the Drillies, but she was not officially a gang member. Rumors suggested she was either backdoored, betrayed, killed by her own side, or shot accidentally. But thereafter, Delilah became one of the most disrespected individuals in the Bronx. The Drillies' rivals dissed her relentlessly. And on the track right now, part 2, C Blue dissed Spaz's associate Dumb Out when he rapped, like how many ops just died. Delilah got put in the sky. Heard that Lil got shot in her eye. Now Lil can go be with Dummy. Tried to run up. Boy, he was a dummy. The Drillies denied the backdoor rumors. And on the track Back on My Bully, Swave rapped about her, saying, "Rip Leah, that had me sick. But be wrong when they talk about sis. So we spinning the peas looking for the rips. So we spinning the peas looking for a hit." Swave was incarcerated when much of the violence was occurring, but he was still facing 15 years in prison if his case didn't go favorably. The state offered him a plea deal for 10 years, which Swave refused. They then offered him 8 years, but Swave still declined. He was prepared to take the case to trial. However, in 2023, the state offered him a 4-year plea deal, and Swave immediately accepted it. He had already served a few years in custody, so taking the deal meant he only had to spend 1 more year behind bars. The first few years in jail were manageable because Swave was incarcerated with many of his close friends. But then Swave accepted the plea deal and was transferred to an upstate prison. That is when the situation nearly turned fatal for him. When Swave was transferred to the prison, he met some individuals he thought he was cool with. But then they tried to backdoor him, and Swave suffered a slash across his face.
Next thing you know, like, I'm in my cube one day laying down and shit. I get caught over. I get cut over the cube. Feel me? So like my first reaction, I'm not thinking I'm cut. So when I touch my face, it's like, oh, I feel the blood. I feel the blood, so I just start banging out. I seen her one time, like throughout the 4 years, I seen her one time and shit. Yeah. So, and it was closer to when I was getting released. I seen her in May, like right before my birthday and shit. Yeah. So when I seen her, it was like the second time I really seen her in a while.
Being in prison did not change Swave's behavior at all, and he immediately returned to the streets, fell right back into the trenches. By the time Swave came home, the Bronx drill scene was largely defunct. He still entered the recording booth and dissed his rivals though. For example, on the track Back on My Bully, he raps, "Don't with no flock, cause you know I'm big drilly. Empty the clip if I spot me a rippy. I just came home, and I spent me a 50 as a label. I got my own milli." And in 2025, Swave released the track exposing me, rapping, "I'm getting money. I don't wanna see y'all. Keep dying. I don't wanna be y'all. Free all the brothers who didn't get low. Who got shot, like who got poked. Be with the G's, be with the glows. I don't with them _ that's jacking the O." Swave was in his late 20s and had a daughter to care for, yet he continued assaulting random civilians upon his return home. One time, he was walking through the park and heard someone playing his rival's music. So Swave attacked the individual and mocked him on Instagram.
Oh nah, I'm jacking him. Yo, that nigga was holding on to his bike for dear life. He knew, son.
And in an interview, Swave discussed the incident, saying it happened at the same park where he had assaulted Lil J years earlier. Swave was constantly causing trouble, and he allegedly even ran over one of his rivals and posted evidence of it. Shortly before he died, Swave knocked someone out in the street and posted the security footage of the incident. Swave wasn't just assaulting rivals and random civilians. However, one time he was on the block and saw someone else from his own neighborhood who he felt had given a pass to their rivals. so Swave kicked the guy from his own block down the street and spit on him. Rumors are circulating that Swave was backdoored by his own crew. But the members of the Drillies who are currently incarcerated are ordering everyone to seek revenge for Swave if they truly support him. The Drillies still have active shooters, but many of the crew's main figures are in prison. Spaz was actually locked up soon after he released the track Op Spotter with Swave in 2020. Spaz was gaining popularity in the drill scene, but in July 2020, he killed a man named James Rivera and was sentenced to 15 years. After Spaz and Swave were locked up in 2020, Leaky G Bondo took the lead for the crew and was achieving massive success. He was constantly mocking rivals across social media and allegedly venturing into their neighborhoods.
Yo, Flock. Come outside, Flocka. Come play. Where the bro? Come play. Come play today. You always playing on the internet. I want you to come play today.
But then Leaky G Bando was also arrested during the Operation Drilly investigation and was handed a 6-year sentence. The Drillies all getting locked up simultaneously definitely killed their momentum in the rap industry. And when Swave returned home, he wasn't making any money from his music. He missed the drill wave and went back to the streets. And that is how he tragically ended up being killed.